Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming this morning. This is the community meeting in regards to our comprehensive plan. My name is Karen Gardner-Young. I'm the zoning administrator for the city of Green Acres. I'm going to introduce my helpers today, so I'll start on this side.
Denise Malone, I'm consulting with the City of Green Acres.
I have the cameraman behind me.
My name is Chris. I'm the information technology for City of Green Acres.
And then to my right.
Cheryl McMacken, do business taxes for the city.
And I've all volunteers who are nice enough to give me their Saturday mornings to help me with this. I do want to announce, let everybody know we are recording this. The intention of the recording is to post it onto the city's website. So that way anybody would have an option in order to listen to what is being heard today. And I know we had a meeting on Wednesday, had about the same number of people on Wednesday night. What I want to say to you is you are a representative of others in the community who didn't come today. So I don't want you to feel that your opinion is by itself. I'm sure there's many others who have the same opinion. So we are looking at it from that perspective, not as an individual, but overall as representing several within the city of Green Acres. How I'd like to start off, first of all, always remember refreshments in the back. Don't have to raise your hand, please be my guest. This is participatory. So if you give me your eye contact, I'm going to pick on you. Just letting you know, okay? My parents were teachers, so I'm pretty good about going ahead and picking on you and follow up sometimes with some of the comments you may say. This is very important. We really do appreciate it. This information will go back to the City Council, and they are obviously the individuals who will be dealing with the comprehensive plan. So I'd like to start off first with a short presentation, PowerPoint presentation, kind of talk about what the comprehensive plan is and what the process is. And then from there, my intention is to ask open-ended questions so I can get a feel for you representing the community. What do you want Green Acres to be? Because that's really what the comprehensive plan is. It's a long-term document. It's not meant for a year. Ours is actually going to be for 10 years. So it kind of gives you an idea of what we're looking at. With that, I'm going to come over here. So this is the comprehensive plan. EAR stands for Evaluation Appraisal Report. So why do we have a comprehensive plan? So the comprehensive plan was required by state statute. And what happened is the state basically said, hey jurisdictions, you need to coordinate your actions. And the only way we can coordinate actions is if everybody knows what everybody else is doing. So most governmental agencies are required to adopt a comprehensive plan. So every city has one in the state of Florida, counties have one, and what happens is when we go through this process, we're required to send our proposed changes to the adjacent and to entities that could be impacted. So like South Florida Water Management would get a copy, Lake Worth Drainage District would get a copy, the state gets a copy, so that they can all see what we're talking about from our perspective. So I want to go through is what is the comprehensive plan, why is it important, why do we need to update it, and then what the process which you are now involved with. So the comprehensive plan, and I'm leaving it up there in short, it's a guide to the community decision making. It's an assessment of the community needs. A comprehensive plan includes goals, policies, and objectives, and then it has data and analysis that supports what the goals and objectives are. So that's why I talk about it gives an assessment of the community's needs. Talks about the values and goals, a blueprint for how we see the community developing. It's a public document adopted by the government, and it's continually updated. And again, the three products that come out of this process is we have the comprehensive plan, then underneath that we have our zoning or land development regulations, and then underneath that is our capital budget. So I want you to feel that whatever goes into the comprehensive plan ultimately will get put into the budget, however we determine that. Whether it's building infrastructure, whether it's doing studies, whatever we determine in the end. Good morning, Susie, how are you?
Good.
Let me introduce, we have a dignitary with us today.
A neighbor, that's pretty
A neighbor, there you go. All know Commissioner Susie Diaz.
Hi, everybody.
So, the comprehensive plan is basically comprised of elements. And these elements have been determined by the state. The elements I have listed here are required in every comprehensive plan. So every plan that's out there, you will find a capital improvement, you'll find an infrastructure, you'll find a conservation. However, because every city is unique, you are actually able to do optional elements. So the city of Green Acres has 2 optional, annexation and public school facilities, which was required at one time and is no longer required. And we are proposing in this process to add 2 new elements, community health and economic development. Okay? Now, why is this important? So again, the comprehensive plan, because it reflects the vision. It's what the community wants us to be, how we see ourselves, how we could do better. And all this comes into play when we're talking about, it's a document. Okay, some of these are like 700 pages, some of them could be 30 pages. It really depends on how involved the community is in regards to the process. It provides continuity, because again, your commission has a certain amount of years in office, but guess what? I told you it's 10 years, the comprehensive plan. So it goes beyond the different election years, so it's a continuity that we have. It provides guidance for shaping the community appearance, advising developers what the city is looking for, because if the community comes back and says, look, we don't want single-family residents anymore, we want something else, we would like to put that into the comprehensive plan, so when a developer comes, we can say, look, you don't even need to go to the elected board, because we can tell you in the comprehensive plan it says we don't want single-family residences. So it kind of gives you that option so everybody knows what's around. And the bottom one, which is the most important one, which we have no choice, it's statutorily required. So we do it. Now, why do we need to update it? This whole thing can be put down into about 4 or 5 words. We're required to do it every 7 years. So every jurisdiction, and it varies every year, everybody has different, but every one of us, every 7 years, the state says you need to evaluate whether you need to revise it or whether you're okay. And the reason why we do that is because demographics could change, population could change, you could annex substantially additional property, so that could change. So when those circumstances change, the state wants you to reevaluate, which is what we determined based on where we were when we did this 10 years ago, 15 years ago, to where we are today. So this is the timeline, the process of how we're going to proceed. We started this process, believe it or not, back in March, where at that point I made a presentation to the City Council, to the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals, and we also hired some consultants to help us with some of the data. Since March to the present time, we've been trying to get public input. I've had 2 stakeholder meetings, which were done through Teams meeting, where I had transportation experts was one, because that's such an important topic. The other one was parks and open space. So like transportation, I had Florida Department of Transportation, I had the county, I had different jurisdictions adjacent to us. In parks, I had the county sports commission. I had sports leagues involved. So I tried to get the stakeholders who had an interest in order to participate in the meeting, and those are posted on our website. So if you ever want to listen to see what happened to those meetings. In addition, I brought every goal, objective, and policy that the staff has suggested to the Planning Board of Appeals for them to evaluate. So that was a public meeting in which individuals were entitled to attend, to listen. And then the last one, again, is these meetings that I've had. And please be my ambassador. There is a survey on our website. Very easy to get to. You hit the survey and it opens right up. It's only about 5 or 6 questions. If you can get anybody who couldn't participate today, please encourage them to go ahead and do the survey so we can get information that way as well. Once we're done with the public information on this part, then we're going to really, although we have kind of started already, we're going to really start proceeding with drafting of the document. And then actually in January, the City Council has asked staff to come back for workshops in January. Don't know how many, but we're going to come back. Again, another opportunity that you would have to come and listen to what we're providing, what the council is saying, so you can continue to be informed on how this process is going. And then through May through July, we're going to be adopting it. We have to do formal votes of it. And ultimately, this must be up. We must have this adopted by the City Council by September of next year. The penalty is if we don't, we cannot adopt anything that requires a land use change. That's the penalty by not having it done in time. So my intention is not to go there, so we don't have to worry about it. So that's why we're a little bit early in order to take a look, and you can see it requires back to the planning board, then to the city council, and then to the state. Because the state does look at it to make sure it addresses state interests. So with that, I'm going to ask if there's any questions regarding this process and what I talked about in my presentation. Oh, I did such a good job. Oh, there we go.
Okay, the skateway, what's happening with that?
All we know right now is that it has been sold, but we don't have any petitions in hand. So people keep inquiring, but it doesn't mean that they're going to come to fruition. So we have to wait to see.
Okay, is it, I mean, the person that bought it, did they say what they're going to use, what their intention is? Okay.
And I've heard a whole bunch. I've heard, a better ice rink system. I've heard single family. I've heard multifamily. So it's the gamut. So those are all rumors. So I don't like to talk about it until we have an actual petition in our hand. Okay. So, I'm sorry. Yes.
I have a question. Now, with this comprehensive plan, and say we want things changed and the council agrees and everything, what's the time frame for this to be going? Because we had attended a meeting a while ago where there was a plan, and this was several years ago, on what they wanted to do with some of the parks, and specifically from the original section, and a lot of the things that were going to be going on here, and we really haven't seen anything.
So what I say is, this document, the comprehensive plan, has to be adopted by September of 2023.
Okay.
Then what would happen is probably next year, we're probably going to the council members and asking them to place in their budget the items that are located within the comprehensive plan. So for example, we did put in, one of the goals and objectives we put in is a parks master plan. So I gave them a 5-year period, because I can't, I'd like to say to do it next year, but I don't know what our funds look like, right? So I want to give some opportunity. So at least there's something in there that gives you a time frame on those kind of things.
Is there some place that, for residents to look at the parks plan, to be able to see, what you're coming up with?
There's nothing, it's zero. In other words, I don't have anything to give you. That's why we're going out to a consultant to help come back to us and give a suggestion with a lot of outreach. I'm going to tell you, all this stuff now requires a lot of outreach, and it may be back to where we started years ago. But again, circumstances change. I mean, I remember what was 5 years ago to what was now it's crazy. I mean,
well, my big issue too is this basketball court. For this little neighborhood, I just don't think it's appropriate. It's ugly on the street. It's annoying. It's loud.
Gotcha.
People leave garbage all over the place. So this has been a long-term thing. I mean, we've lived here for 31 years.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of my goal. I think that we would be better off, with like a hard trail, that everybody can participate in, and it would be quiet.
yeah. So let me, first of all, so you know, is I have my 2 helpers will be keeping track of the comments, because I don't want to lose any of the comments. And we will make sure this information gets distributed. So before I get started though, I do, if you guys don't mind, because we're kind of a small group, so if you wouldn't mind kind of introducing yourselves, a resident business owner, long-term resident, short-term resident, and I'm going to start at this table, and that way, because like I said, I really do want to go around and hear from you. Once I get done, I'm going to be kind of the facilitator. So,
Do we need the mic or?
does she need,
No,
nope,
you're fine,
good.
you're fine.
Hi, guys. I'm Shoshana Chambers. I live over in Summit Reserve off of Ranchette. I live in the very first community that was built there. Off of Ranchette, 2 more communities have been built, and they're currently working on a townhome community as well. I've been living there for approximately 2.5 years. It's a very nice area. One of my concerns in regards to the comprehensive plan, I would like to see a bookstore open somewhere in the Green Acres area. I find myself going to Boynton for Barnes & Nobles, or up to Palm Beach Gardens, or the library. The library is great where it's at on Summit, but I would love to see a bookstore somewhere in our community. I see some open land space when you come down Summit and turn on Congress about a block or two. And I was just inquiring as to, do you know what's going to happen with that space?
I am not aware, we gotta be careful, because in that area, it could be unincorporated, or, because boundaries know no limits, right? So depending on where the property goes, I'd have to take a look to determine exactly, but I'm not aware. We generally get notice, even if it's done by the county or by Palm Springs, who is our next door neighbor to the east, but I'm not aware of anything.
It's
But-
great, I love the community.
Perfect.
And I'd love to see, would love to be here to see it mature and, get things going that are, safe for our community.
Great.
Very important is safety.
Safety.
My community isn't a gated community. We've already had some thefts and break-ins and locks broken and, things to that nature. But being a board member of the HOA, we're kind of hoping to keep things under control as best as we can in regards to safety. So
Great.
safety is a huge issue for us on Ranchette.
Perfect.
being
We're
the
going to build on what you said. I've got some questions, especially economic development, we're going to want to get through. Okay, next.
Eileen Baisley. I live in Buttonwood West,
Great.
and I've lived there for 20 years.
Wow. Welcome.
Yeah, and I'm very happy with what's going on.
Great.
I mean, the traffic is getting very bad.
Yes. We
And
heard that
I know
the other
they're-
night.
Yeah, they're building a lot of new communities, and the traffic is, to me, a real problem, because I'm a senior citizen.
Right.
So, I
We're
don't
going to
go
talk
out.
about that.
Yeah, I don't go out after 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
Or before 10 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Smart.
Because of the traffic.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that's the only concern I have is traffic control.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning, I'm Nancy Rodell. I lived in the city in the same house right next to the basketball court for 31 years. And that's, I would like to see something done over here. I walk my dogs every morning, a lot of people do. I know that people on my street, we have one guy that's been there for 50 years. We don't want all this noise and all this, we tried to tell them before they did all this that it was going to be a problem for us. We have people coming up and down the street, blaring their music. There is not a day that goes by that I don't have to pick up trash out of my front yard. And then there's trash over here. So if we did something over here that the whole community could to participate in, because even the little utility park over there, they play soccer over there all the time. I try and take my grandson, who's 3. I don't want him to get hit by it's not a soccer field, it's a utility field. And I think if people want to take their children over there to play on the swings or run around on the field, they shouldn't have to worry about getting smacked by a soccer ball.
Gotcha.
So that, to me, I think the parks, it's a great thing, but it needs to be done with the community in mind, and not just basketball players and soccer players, but the people that live in this area and that are going to be using it.
Right. Great. We'll follow up with some of that. Great. Maria, welcome back.
Hi. My name is Maria. I'm in Dillman Farms, and I've been here more than 20 years, basically when Dillman Farms started. And I do want to make a shout out to thank you as an HOA board member to appear to a meeting like this, because I think something like that is super important for all HOA communities as well. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Next.
Mel Holden, 3 years retired, and I'm short-term resident.
Oh, good. Thanks. Perfect.
Because I forced them.
Well, welcome. That's what we'll say. And the best for last?
Hey, good morning, Joey Muhammad. Been in the city. I lived here for 10 years, went to high school like John Addy. I live in Sherwood Lakes, lived there for 10 years, and I'm also an employee of the city as well.
All right, so I want to start off, and we're going to follow through with some of these as I ask these questions. So I just want to keep a little consistency. That's why I want to go through some of these questions. I'm going to ask you the first one. What makes you feel connected to your community? What makes you feel connected to your community?
Get some discipline.
Is it, yeah,
I'll just say, I really appreciate the brochure that we get that gives us a rundown of what's happening within the city and
Oh, okay.
what's available, you know, like for seniors, dancing and whatever, you know,
Great.
projects. The bus that takes people to different things. I don't know if they're still doing that or not, but that's a good one. I'm talking in reference to seniors.
right,
only.
right.
And I like the fact that you send out the hurricane thing every year.
Mhm.
And also, there's other few things that come over on email. So that connects me to the community.
So what I'm hearing is you are appreciative of the public outreach that our public information officer is doing to get information about what's occurring in the city or items of concern that our residents should be aware of. How about from a connectivity point? Is it your fellow residents? Is it the ability to walk? Is it the stores represent where you want to shop? Go ahead, Nancy.
I walk my dogs every morning. A lot of people do. You know, you always see people walking around here during the day. You know, I mean, I have to be to work early, so I usually walk my dogs at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm never afraid. I have big dogs, of course, but, you know, I mean, I would really never even think, you know, that something bad would happen. And I also would like to give a shout out to Andrea. She is fantastic.
Great.
She's very receptive. Anytime that I've called her or, you know, needed something or had a problem, she's always on it. She's fantastic.
Great. Anybody else? Yeah.
I feel connected, and like you said, the diversity of the community. It's very important that we have different cultural backgrounds to me in regards to just feeling like you belong to a specific area. That was very important for me when me and my significant other was house shopping. I like the resources that we have in our community, like you said, the buses, the libraries, my community in general, where I think we're a very close-knit community. I can say we have a WhatsApp that we keep current and we communicate with our residents in our community, which is very important to me. I don't know if it's just Green Acres, but they send out, I'm a big person on safety because I'm a person who walks my dog at 4 in the morning too, sometimes 3:30 if they wake me up. But we get these things where it says what's going on in the community, in the area.
Or the neighborhood.
The neighborhood, who theft or gunshot hearing or whatever whatever's happening out there. And that's pretty helpful for myself as well. So just the diversity of Green Acres was a big deal to me, and I feel connected in that way.
Yeah, I think to piggyback off on that, I would also say, like, community events, you know, brings everyone together. The programming that the community provides, you know, for the kids, there's a lot of programming on the weekend, and the city really focuses on the youth, you know. So I think as a father of 2 young kids, I think that's really important to me as well.
So let me follow up with that. So, question regarding our special events. Do you feel that the events being offered are what you're looking for? Are they offered enough? Is there something different that we should be offering? Any thoughts regarding that particular, you know, is it frequent enough? Are we using it in the right areas in, you know, are we just one area versus another area? Kind of give me feedback on your thoughts regarding that. Yes.
One time, and this was years and years ago, we had a parade, which was, we had so much fun. Everybody participated. I think we went from Jog Road all the way down 10th Avenue and then came down here. That's when the ball fields were very, you know, everybody was, that was our lives. Yeah, remember?
The Leonard band played.
Yeah, the John I. Leonard band
Yeah.
played. And I mean, it was so
It was really
nice.
cool.
And I know a lot of the other municipalities do the parades, and I think that would be great. It would.
Was it a July 4th parade or was it just?
I think it was, I forget what it it was for. I think it was just for the beginning of the baseball season. But
Oh, okay.
baseball was
No, the
huge.
football season.
No,
Okay.
it was baseball.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, baseball was huge, like
Gotcha.
back in the early 90s
Okay.
over here.
Oh, yeah, that's right, you're right.
Yeah, it was a big thing, but it was such a nice event, you know, I mean, the Boy Scouts marched and the Girl Scouts marched and all the teams marched
Oh.
and, you know, the fire department was involved and the police department was involved and the mayor, you know, rode in a car and I mean, it was really, really nice. It was a really nice event.
Nice. Cool. Anything else? So let me follow up on the idea regarding parks. So tell me from your perspective, the use of the park from your perspective. Is it just for special events? Is it for day-to-day activity? Do you want regional parks that offer more multi-items? Or do you want a neighborhood park, which is just, you know, a passive park? Or just has, you know, playground equipment? Or maybe you want it all? Nancy, go ahead.
I would just like a neighborhood park.
Okay.
You know, I think as far as like the basketball and soccer, you know, all of that should be out at Pinehurst, you know, where there's nobody around. You know, there's no neighbors and, you know, the lights from the basketball court are on until 10 o'clock at night and, you know, we can't entertain in our own homes because of the noise that's coming around, you know, from around us. You know, so I think in little neighborhood pockets, you know, like ours and like that little one over off, I think it's 57, you know, that's kind of more of what I would like to see over here. You know, I mean, that we have people coming up and down the street, we don't know who these people are.
Right.
You know, I mean, safety-wise and cleanliness and noise, you know, just to have, you know, like I said before, a nice hard trail, you know, someplace you can take the dogs and let them run around. Even a dog park would be nice, you know, but to have the basketball court, you know, and then the not soccer field that chooses a soccer field over here, it's just not appropriate for this type of a neighborhood.
So
I'd like to see something, I'd like to see all of that go and just have, you know, like a hard trail, people can go out and walk and get some exercise. You know, and I know before they had the basketball court and that was just, you know, kind of a park over there, I mean, you got to meet and greet with your neighbors. You know, people would be over there, they wanted to be over there because, you know, we didn't have the language from the basketball court and you know, it was nice. So, you know, since this has been over here, you know, a lot of times in the mornings, I'll see moms, you know, taking their kids over there, but other than that, you know, it's really not for the neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Well, there's three types of parks, okay? There's generally a neighborhood park, which means that people walk. It's not meant to have cars, right? And then you generally have a community park, which would have some traffic that would come, and then you have a regional park, which pulls out from outside of Green Acres. So a regional park would be Freedom Park. That's a regional park. So, you know, generally when you're talking about diversity within a community, we have to deal with, and I say mature adults. You have to deal with, well, you're 50, I can't tell you the number of 50-year-old leagues that are out there. You know, they want the physical, they want to be healthy. So you have that population, and then you have the kids. So, you know, as a community, when you talk about wanting to bring diversity in, sometimes you need to deal with the different types. I think maybe what I'm hearing is the location correct for those particular parks? But I guess I'm trying to find out, is there a desire to, again, is there a feel that we should have something different than what we already have? Some discussion, maybe you see Wellington. Wellington's talking about bringing in a regional, like multiple fields, soccer fields. So now you can have leagues, you can have tournaments that people come. You can have professionals who can come out and practice in that area. Again, the question is, what do you vision Green Acres to be? Is that something that we want to be known for? You know, Wellington's known for its horses, right? So is that something, West Palm, probably for its beach, downtown. So is there something that, from your perspective, again, as an open question, what's your ideal Green Acres? If you were to say to somebody and say, this is why you come to Green Acres, why? What is it that you would either we're doing now or would like to see in the future? Please.
I'd like, right now, when you drive up 10th Avenue where the trees come together, I think that's so beautiful. And especially like here in the old section, there's so much greenery and it's so welcoming because, being an elderly person, I go back, I guess, and I like all of that. And I'd like to see more of those nice trees, and more flowers and things like that. I mean, the paintings on the little boxes, that's nice.
On the utility boxes,
yes,
yeah.
I think that's very nice. But, some more things like, some greenery, because it's Green Acres, so we need to have some more greens.
Well, we just hit our 30th year as a tree city. If you haven't noticed, we just put some banners up to reflect that. But let me ask you, because there's always a trade-off, right? So we've kind of had this discussion. When you have trees, you have what we call a right-of-way. The right-of-way typically includes your sidewalk, your bike lanes, your travel lanes, and usually has a landscape, aisle or buffer. If we're going to put those kind of trees, I need enough room for their roots. So let me ask the group overall, are you willing to give up part of that travel lane, enable to us to put either more trees, more wider sidewalks, potentially bike lanes? That would mean traffic going slower and traffic potentially could end up backing up. Now again, right place, right time, but I'm just asking from a vision perspective, is that something you'd like to see? I'm sorry, you joined us.
Hi, Valerie.
I didn't even notice. Welcome.
Thank you. I would just chime into that, and I would say that definitely quality of life and livability are important, and by adding those trees and potentially reducing the width of the lanes and having some of those other modes of transportation, this community is a very transit dependent and dependent on walking, biking, and other modes. Whether it's income, whether it's age, whether it's physical ability, having that really benefits everyone, and it creates traffic calming and provides other ways to move around, which can also reduce congestion if you have a safe and connected network. So by doing that, this Green Acres also happens to be one of the most dangerous places to live, with the highest number of people being killed by being struck by a car. So cars are going very fast and they're coming through. So I think that if you ask the question, would you be willing to narrow the lanes a little more to be able to provide a more comfortable experience for other users, I would say definitely yes. I think safety is the #1 priority for our residents. In terms of what do you want to see more of here, definitely appreciate the parks. I think the Green Acres, its location strategically is very attractive in the sense of regionally where to live. People in Royal Palm and Wellington and even further beyond are feeling it takes forever to get to the Turnpike or I-95 or to even get anywhere. Green Acres is in a very key strategic location, very convenient location to live because you have that access to Southern, to Turnpike, to other I-95. So I think that if when you're talking about where to live and quality of life, Green Acres has a huge opportunity there. Having more of that, I know that there's already green markets and things like that, but really promoting that more and having more of those green markets and that sort of activity that you hear about in Palm Beach Gardens, you hear about in downtown West Palm Beach and other locations, but really kind of elevating that even further. I would say that one thing that I think Green Acres lacks and maybe could be an opportunity would be having something, maybe a redevelopment of some strip mall or something that has something unique that really people want to go to on their free time. For example, a unique coffee shop or brewery or art thing, so kind of like where Restoration Hardware in West Palm Beach, it was a dilapidated area and they created, Resource Depot. But there's a new coffee shop right next to it. And people are like, have you been to that local coffee shop? That's really great. It's a great place with plants and go read your book. I feel like, I don't know if that exists here, so more of those unique kind of redevelopment and that is drawing people like Grandview Public and that sort of thing. In Orlando, there's areas that were a little bit more dilapidated or older and have had a little bit of that redevelopment. And so now it's like, oh, have you been to this little area that's really kind of unique? And so I think that's something that would be good for Green Acres.
So you have a lot of ideas. First of all, this is Valerie Nelson. She's executive director, for the Transportation Planning Agency, which is the county-wide planning agency. So we're very fortunate to have us with today. So she can give us some information. So we're lucky. But I do want to get back, understand, where she comes from. So I would have expected nothing less from Valerie to say that. But from your perspective, again, are we willing to, is that a vision that we're looking for? Are we looking for more trees, more walkability, but giving up some of the travel? Or, I mean, I'd love to say I'd give it to you all, but we can't. Maybe we're not ready for it now. Maybe in the future, I don't know. What's the thought? I'm sorry, Maria, let me get you.
But that would still take a study. I mean, it doesn't have to be one or the other. I mean, that would be the professionals to come out and determine what type of trees can we put out. We would be satisfied with trees and plants and flowers, but at the same time, not that type of tree that it's going to, reduce roads and reduce sidewalks, because sidewalks are so important. So it's still something that we can look into with good studies.
And you're absolutely right, because something like that type of vision wouldn't really be on a Lake Worth Road, right? But it could be on 10th Avenue, it could be on Swain. So again, you're absolutely correct, but just again, to be able to get back to the council for them to even consider that, because we just want to make sure if that is something that we do want them to take a look at, that would be something that they have to consider when they adopt the document. I am going to follow up with one of the things that Valerie had said. One thing that we are missing, that she had talked about, is we don't have a downtown.
No, that's right.
Okay? Is that something you guys would look for? And if yes, where would you like it to be? How about that open-ended question, huh? So I'm seeing yes, we want a downtown. So that sounds like a yes. So start throwing out some locations where you think it might be appropriate.
I think in the original section, because
The
really
original
that's,
section.
that's the original Green Acres. I mean, it's been here since 1921. Right where Belks is in that area. I know there's that duplex right there, and Belks is right there. I mean, that's like a nice little hub. They have that VA that nobody uses, or that's rarely used. That's right there. And then, as my mom said too, with the trees and stuff, no, we wouldn't expect it on 10th Avenue or Lake Worth Road or Forest Hill Boulevard. But, through, the little pocket neighborhoods and stuff, we are very fortunate in the original section because, it is beautiful. And we do have a lot of beautiful landscaped homes in here. But, I think that would probably be a good thing. And, as I had mentioned, before the meeting that, we had talked about all this stuff years and years ago, and I think that's, they even had some company come in, some consultants, and this was, I don't know, probably right when Andrea had first started, and that was kind of the idea of what they were moving towards was more of a downtown area, and a place for people to have coffee or a bookshop or, or a downtown area for people to go.
And it's a great idea. I think part of the problem that, again, they couldn't implement right away is that you're on sewers. So many of the potential commercials can't operate on a sewer. So now that we're in the process of doing projects that will bring, take you off of septic and put you on sewer, probably that could be something we could bring to light. I'm sorry, yes?
No, I was just going to suggest, because the shopping center where Olive Garden is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all
Woodlands.
Lake Worth Road, yeah, right in that area. Because there's a movie theater already there, and there's also the supermarket that's already there, and there's a couple of restaurants already there. But now, if we were to develop that whole section, encompassing those things that are already there, but modernizing that whole section as a downtown.
Well, and you actually bring up a great point, is that a lot of the shopping centers that are in the city were developed back in the 1980s.
Right.
So, it is probably appropriate now for them to come back and say redevelopment. Now, redevelopment, so you know, typically talks about mixed-use developments. Okay, so you usually have the first floor is your cleaners and your ice cream store, and the top floor has the residential. So that goes back to that walkability, that if somebody wants to be able to not get into a car, to be able to go out and get your take-home food, they don't have to get in the car because it's around right where it is. Is that a desire of this group? Are you looking for, because again, we're a lot of single family, so my question, my open-ended question is, do you believe that there's sufficient housing opportunities or choices in the city?
Yes.
Yes? No? If there's a no, what do you think we should be providing? You feel that there's sufficient that you can pick from a duplex to a single family to a townhouse?
I don't think that we have something like, at the square previously called Rosemary Square or, the Meisner Park, where you do have kind of that mixed-use development where you have some apartments above, but underneath there are some, there's restaurants and shops and things like that. I don't think we have that. We have apartments and we have townhomes and we have some single-family homes, but we don't have that mixed-use development, which could be nice for a downtown location. I would say for a downtown location, I guess regionally and strategically in terms of location and trying to connect to more regional transit routes so people can get there in other ways or connect to there and get somewhere else, probably at the corners of near off Lake Worth Road or Forest Hill would be key regional corridors. So if you do have like a live, work, play location and a destination, people can get there by transit or go live there and get from there to other places in our county and our region would be more, I guess, strategic for that kind of, if you're envisioning that kind of a transit-oriented development that's like a destination. I know Royal Palm's looking at it along State Road 7, where the giant, along all of Wellington and Royal Palm are looking at State Road 7 for those kinds of opportunities, but Wellington Mall is looking at potentially redeveloping the State Road 7 at Okeechobee. Target also, they're thinking, what if this was a catchment location and destination, but also a live, work, play location, and then you hop on transit and you get around other locations. I had just a follow-up question. I know that there was a lot of visioning and a vision plan that happened in around 2018. Is that also being kind of incorporated into all of this?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Susie was the one who brought it up at my last council meeting, in which I discussed it. It is, I think we posted it on the webpage as well. So we're going to incorporate as much as we can together. I mean, again, I've only been here a year, so a lot of what I'm hearing I didn't know. But yes, we will be taking everything. But again, what was back in 2017 versus what is now may not even be applicable. I don't, again, I don't know. It's something we've got to, we've had advancements. I mean, the number of electronic vehicles are substantially more than they were before. Is that something we've got to take into consideration? Housing, we have an affordable housing issue now. Is that something that we didn't really discuss 5-6 years ago? So, these issues do pop up, but we do have what was in there will be presented to the City Council for their consideration. So if there was one thing that you feel needs to be improved in the city, what would that be?
Traffic control.
Traffic control. Okay, tell me a little bit. Is it traffic control as far as lighting? You can't, you get stopped at a light, you gotta wait, and then when you think you get to the next light, you get stopped? Or is it we need additional lanes? Or you tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, the other night when I left here, between here and home, I got stopped at every traffic light. No, what I mean basically is when you get to, say, when you have to make a turn, on a lot of the traffic lights, you don't get a lead light to go ahead to make that turn. Even if you're in a turning lane, you still have to wait for other traffic. Say the traffic that is perpendicular to you, and they're making a left turn, and you're making a right turn. You may not get a lead light to go ahead and make that turn, whereas if you're just sitting there.
Yeah, look, last night I was walking 2 red lights and a turn arrow, and the guy went right through the light. And I'm like, there's 2 red turn lights. But yeah, first of all, just so that you know, is that traffic timing is done by Palm Beach County. Okay, so when we talk a little bit about transportation, it is a conglomerate of entities that are involved in the process. And again, keeping in mind that many of the roads that are within the limits of the city are not ours as a city. Lake Worth Road is a state road, so it's controlled by Florida Department of Transportation. Jog is a county road, so it's controlled by Palm Beach County. So again, this is where that coordination between groups have to come into play. And there are, there's reasons, because what always drives me crazy here is that, I started at one intersection and you had, turning at the same time, and then I go 3 weeks later and then it goes, they're going, and then these are coming straight, and I'm like, somebody decided to change the turning sequence. And I, honestly, not my expertise, there has to be some sort of formula to it. Certainly one of the things that we might want to consider is, a sensor on the turn lanes that, if there's enough cars, it'll keep the light green so it knows the sense of how much that costs. I don't know. I don't know what it entails or whether there's certain standards you need to have. But there are, obviously some things that we might be able to implement. But again, traffic definitely important. Hearing kind of timing from traffic. I'm sorry. Yes, Valerie.
I know that a lot of the roads are controlled by other folks, but it doesn't feel safe. It's just people are driving way too fast. I think that there really needs to be traffic calming, and it's just not only are the numbers not safe, but it does, as a resident, it doesn't feel safe. Like, it doesn't feel safe to drive or walk or bike here. Even when I'm driving at night, it's dark, some of the streets, there's people that are walking and biking, and I'm afraid that I might not see them. So overall, as a pedestrian, bicyclist, and driver, I don't feel safe. I feel cars are going way too fast, the roadways are way too wide, and because of the location that we're in, it's, unless we do more traffic calming and not be characterized as a speedway, we're going to have a lot of people cutting through here, because to the west we have these, it continues to grow, so Royal Palm, Westlake, Waxahachie, all these, Wellington, all these folks are having to come east, and Royal Palm's now complaining, why are all these people cutting through us? We used to be on the end. And it's because there's a new city in Westlake and all this development out west, and they have no other way in or out. So I really think that traffic calming needs to be, at a certain point, you have to, if you continue to grow, you can't widen anymore. You have to start looking at ways to move people in other ways.
So let me ask you, on the feel of safety or the traffic calming, is it on the major roads or is it on every road? Is it local roads? Kind of give me feedback on that feeling.
It's definitely on the major roads. It's on the high crash corners, on Jog Road, on Lake Worth Road, on Forest Hill, even off the Summit. Just some of these roads that you're driving down. But I would say 10th, like any of these kind of side roads they feel that way. And so I think it's really trying to see what can be done on those roads, increasing visibility of crosswalks, potentially if it's more of a neighborhood street, changing that character as we were talking, more trees, more traffic calming, and having more lighting. I think it's dark in some locations, so that's one of the things I wish I kind of avoid. I could take Forest Hill, but at night I avoid it. I go north and I go on Southern instead, because I'm afraid to drive because it's dark, there's people, and people are speeding, so it feels unsafe.
So when we talk about, traffic calming, it can be any number of ways of accomplishing that. It could be reducing the lanes, could be just reducing the lane size. So it's not as wide, so you're closer to somebody, so you'll be a little slower. Could be trees, could be addition of roundabouts, things that make you kind of stop, kind of thing.
Just to build off of that, as far as the original section goes, there's always people speeding back and forth. We've got kids coming from Green Acres Elementary and so forth. In the streets that our city owned in the original section, why don't we have more speed bumps?
So, interesting conversation, and there's different types of slowing mechanisms, okay? And so you'll get the lesson now. So a speed bump is basically where it bumps, right? Your public safety people hate speed bumps, okay? Because think about, you've got an ambulance coming by, and if you've ever been in an ambulance, and hopefully you've never been, but if you've ever been in an ambulance and you're gonna do a bump, you are gonna be in pain by the time you get past that bump. And it slows them up.
Right.
So they generally don't like that. But then there's speed tables, okay? So speed tables kind of go like this, so it isn't as high, doesn't cause as much. Or there's strips that you can do instead. And, you know, again, generally that is something that we'd be looking from the residents that live in the area. Because I can tell you, you know, speed, the strips are nice, but if you've ever been by one in the middle of the night, and all you hear is blah, 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 right? You got to think about it. The car's going over it, right? So, you know, again, everything we talk about is a give and take. But, you know, again, I think, you know, Swain we recognize, so you have a stop sign as you go down certain levels. But again, mostly on traffic, it's based upon the amount determines on whether something is implemented or not, so you know. Because if you implement something that's not justified and someone gets hurt or injured, there's now liability. So they have standards, you kind of have to follow those standards. But again, I think they took note that you're saying that in the original section, maybe we should have some more traffic calming type approaches. And again, even a way that I've done in some of my jurisdictions, even adding bike lanes on either side that we now hopefully paint green so you can see the bicyclists, again, lessens the traffic so it makes you go smaller. Or a lot of them have done designs where you road right, and then you kind of do this with bump outs on the side. So then, you know, so there's any number of ways in which you can try to accomplish and give a vision, which I think you had over there with more landscaping potentially. But understand, again, right, give and take. I add in landscaping, I now have to maintain landscaping. Because there's nothing worse than dead landscaping, right? So now you got to worry about irrigation, you got to worry about water costs, and again, the intent of this meeting is not to say whether it's reasonable or not, it's just to throw the ideas out there so we can get it back to the council. So
there's I don't know if there's what street would be the best, or if there would be a candidate here, but there's a street that West Palm Beach did on Cumberland Drive. It's kind of a neighborhood street that cuts through near Palm Beach Lakes, off in that area, but they did separated bike lanes with armadillos and then a protected roundabout. And I think it's a really great local example to see that kind of traffic calming, and it connects to a park. It'd be really nice to see that in Green Acres, something like that in Green Acres.
I love roundabouts, Valerie. I got to be perfectly honest. People do not know how to do them here. That's true. I mean, honestly, I love them, but I mean, if anybody has been down Kagan Ranch when you go south, they've got all those roundabouts. I can't tell you. I'm sitting there going, it's not a stop. Yeah. So anyway, it's, you know, again, I'm lighting up the atmosphere, but, you know, certainly roundabouts have a pretty view, you know, because you can put landscaping or bricks or things. So it does give that vision. And look, when you're doing that kind of approach with landscaping, that creates the community, right? Because now you have that vision, that look. I mean, I remember I had worked for the city of Parkland, and down there, every building had brick. So you knew the minute you got into Parkland, you saw a brick building, you knew you were there. Right? Because that was what they were known for. So it gave that community feeling. So again, it could be trees. I'll tell you, some of the cities off of the water, they have the royal big palm trees that go down the street. Again, gives you an idea. You know you're in the city because they have these in a row and are there. So again, it does give an option of a view.
One of the improvements I'd like to see, I think everyone touched on a lot of things that I totally agree with, but I'm a person who's big on aesthetics. When I'm driving through a community and just looking around to see what's going on. Of late, and I don't know if it's because of the pandemic, a lot of the shopping centers look abandoned. I don't know if business has gone, gone out of business, or they're just nothing to put into the area, but the buildings look abandoned in some of the shopping centers, especially the one just for an example, the one on Military and what is that? Military and Okeechobee. When I first moved here, they're where the LA Fitness is. There were stores in there. There was a linen store. I don't think that linen store is open anymore, but there's a beautiful, beautiful food market in there that I definitely go to and shop. But everything else looks like there's nothing there. And the McDonald's is on the end, so to speak. So, I would like to see something happen or be done with these abandoned shopping centers where there aren't any type of businesses going on there and people are just biking through and, things like that.
So let me ask you that from an economic development perspective. What would you like to see in the shopping centers? Assuming you had a blank, screen and you have a shopping center, are you looking for big boxes? Are you looking for a Publix? Are you looking for a mom and pop store? Are you looking for the unique? Well, talk to us on give an idea if you had a blank shopping center, what kind of businesses, now again, you have to support, right? Because if you don't support it, they don't get the money, they go out of business. So again, thinking about your friends and neighbors, what are the type of businesses that you think that Green Acres should bring in? Nancy?
I'd like it to kind of like a one-stop shop, like they have out in Wellington. I can go to Michael's, I can go to TJ Maxx, and I can go to Sprouts, and then I can stop and have lunch. And, it's all in that one area, so, kind of if I'm going out to say this shopping center, I'd like to get everything done there, or, and I know there's a Publix right out there, so that you don't have to drive here, there to go everywhere. And like you said, a bookstore, to have, a coffee shop, to have that kind of stuff so that, when you go out there, that's going to be it. I can get everything done here, so I spend 2 or 3 hours doing whatever I have to do, but it's all going to be right there.
Anybody else? Yes?
I mean, I kind of already said it, but I think changing the landscape, the development a little bit to be more of that, not big box store, but more of a walkable environment when you get there, and it has, you can be outside and have, I really think we need some sort of a trendy restaurants and coffee shops, like a Foxtail Coffee. I'm just thinking of Orlando, I just looked it up and there's one now in West Coca, but basically it's kind of it's not a Starbucks, it's not such a small little kind of whatever gas station coffee, but it's a more of a trendy, I don't know, like they have in Grand Republic or that they have the West Palm Beach Green Market, a trendy coffee shop that has an outdoor area with little string lights and live music, and you can go during the day, you can go study, and now it starts becoming a place that people go and hang out. It's a destination, a brewery, coffee shop, a garden, an art place, or whatever, but it's not the typical thing that you're going to see in every strip mall. It's not the typical Marshalls and, whatever, Best Buy, and the things that you are just not unique,
Right, so I'm kind of hearing, so a area that can service all the needs that you would have, and then I'm hearing an area that can be a destination place, that you could literally, instead of, as we call placemaking, bringing people together. Yes, Marie?
Yes, and just on her view of the trendy, and I see solar. I see electric car vehicle charging stations, because again, if we're having not just residents of Green Acres, but others coming through, and we already know it, as the years go on, we're going to need that as well. So I see solar, and I see electric car charging stations at these locations.
So Maria segued into the question of green. Okay, so do we want to be known as a green community? Again, offset, when you're doing green, it costs, right? So if you want to, my brother lives in California, they require solar on top of their houses. Yep, well, their houses don't go for 200,000. So, it's an offset of what you have, Would you allow less parking spaces to allow electronic charging stations to go in? Don't know.
Well, they have like solar trees or solar canopies.
Yep, FPL has it, they have electronic tree. So, green, are we green? Tell me, let me ask you this question. Would you like the city to incorporate green components to the items that we build with the knowledge that it may cost more money, but your benefit in the end could be better? So if we phrase it correctly, in other words, we're not just doing it to do it, but we could show in 10 years there might be a reduction in our electrical costs. And I'm seeing heads go, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, I would say yes, but also I would say that there's more money available right now for carbon reduction from the federal government. There's all kinds of grants. I mean, even at my agency, now they've added $2.6 million a year for our local communities to apply for carbon reduction strategies, transportation related. That means EV charging stations, infrastructure. That means that it's not necessarily that much of a cost to the city because there's money available to do it. It's just going after it if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you're not aware, City Hall added, we have electronic charging stations now at City Hall.
And it's still free right now.
Still free as far as I know.
So
yeah, so we
but
are certainly
as
on
a
board.
resident, I think it's for, you're looking forward to be more environmentally friendly because it's cleaner air. I don't want to live in a place that's just polluted and has, it's not a nice place to walk around and live, so I think that having whatever components that can be incorporated to be more environmentally friendly, to have more recycling, to have more, being more conscious in that sense of being a clean city and environmentally friendly for that quality of life.
Gotcha. So you're equating the green to a better quality of life. That's how you would define
There was a big truck that was like, every time that I'd get blinded, every time every light would blow a big old black cloud in my frames every time I tried to go forward. So not that we can control that. I know in California, you call a number and they have emission tests and they're like, this person's spewing out black smoke into our neighborhood. But yeah, that's not the place I don't want to live next to a big, have my house covered in black.
So let me ask you, if you had to say one thing that you loved about the city of Green Acres, what would that be?
Close to Okehee Park.
I'm sorry?
Okehee Park.
Okehee Park, close to Okehee Park, okay? If I love, tell me, what do you love about it? Gotta love something because you're living here.
Location.
Location.
Yeah, location.
And I think Valerie's point is we are pretty much central Palm Beach County, which is a benefit and a disadvantage. Because the point that's made is that traffic wants to go from the west to the east to get to I-95, and unfortunately our roads, believe it or not, have not been determined to be over capacity yet. So it does make it a little difficult, but please.
And I think it's wonderful that we're right next to PBI International Airport.
Oh, the airport.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not Miami, but it's still a nice, city. Happens to be 10 minutes away from a major airport.
So location next to a regional park, near the airport, centrally located in the county. What else?
Programming for youth.
Programming for
adults,
youth.
Just programming in general, yeah.
And just so you know that we've had quite a number of our youth who started in our program who actually became employees of the city. We have a very good, process that brings them in, so it's been very good. Thank you.
I like the history of the city.
The history, okay, love the history. We do have a historical society, and actually I think one of the pictures here, right there, that's a fire station, still around. Not used as a fire station, but still around. Yes?
I'll speak for my husband because he's like whispering stuff that my husband travels a lot, so the PBI, we love going to the airport, whether we drive there or we take a Uber or Lyft there, but transportation from here, you do have access to transit, but also you're not far. Uber ride to Tri-Rail, West Palm Beach or Lake Worth Beach, and he takes that, or even sometimes the Uber to Bright Light Station, and we're right outside of their 5-mile radius of having the free shuttle. Because the Uber Lyft is not that far because he travels internationally, so he'll go out of Fort Lauderdale or Miami sometimes, and just being able to access that is, and without being out too far is still, is a benefit.
I don't know.
Great. And I mean, and that, actually to follow up with that, we do have quite a number of bus routes that are through the city, which again is a benefit. When I first came here, I was like, I couldn't believe the number of people who walk and the number of people who actually are at the bus stops. By the way, we are going to be getting hopefully new bus stations, bus stops. The county is looking at new designs, so we just got a presentation, so we're looking to do that. As I put it the other day, there's only 2 conditions in Florida, either it's hot or it rains. That's it. So you need a roof over your head.
Also, Green Acres, because of that central location in terms of the long-range plans for this county and the region, is along to some of the major proposed enhanced transit routes, which include Forest Hill, Lake Worth Road, Congress, and Military. Like, those are all around here that are roads on Okeechobee as well, that for regional enhanced transit. So knowing that that's proposed and in the future, that means that you have reliable, frequent, enhanced transit with enhanced stations proposed in the future. And if you have ways to get there, walking or biking or some sort of on-demand mobility that you call and you say, I want a ride from here to here, and it's a mile or 2, it'll take you there, then that's again, transportation and location.
Right. Yes, please.
Just to piggyback off of location, I love that we're in a Kravis Center. I go watch a lot of ballets and shows at the Kravis Center, and I also noticed one thing I love about Green Acres is the little mom and pop stores that are popping up here and there for breakfast and for brunch and dinner as well. Been to at least 2 of them so far, 2 or 3 of them so far. Going on Sunday mornings going for breakfast. There is one right in Forest Hills and Jog in the shopping plaza with Publix and the medical equipment store. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that place. Oh goodness, yeah. So I would love to see more stores like that, restaurants like that in Green Acres as well.
It would be nice in the magazine that comes out, or the community magazine that comes out every so often with the courses and things going on in the community, to highlight new businesses that have opened, because I don't know about the latest mom and pop or unique restaurants or shops that are here, so I think it would be nice to, be like, check out these local businesses that have opened up, the new coffee shop, the new restaurant, the new, breakfast, brunch place, so.
And you'll probably see more, we're hiring an economic development director, so we'll be able to spend a little bit more time, dedicated time in regards to specifically redevelopment and the businesses and so forth that are within the city. Let me ask you, what do you think Green Acres does well? I heard originally we seem to be getting public information out well. You like that information? Is there something else from your perspective? What does the city do well that you feel? Or maybe the opposite, what you think we don't do well? I'm an equal opportunity.
I think that I like the fact that we have the fire department and the EMS over here, because it's so convenient. Thank God.
Hopefully you never have to use it, right?
Hopefully not. But they're so close. And I think, that's one good thing that we have that I hope they don't. I know we got our police now are part of the county, but I still hope we can keep our fire department as is.
I don't think there's any intention to change, but I'm not an elected official. What else? What do we do well, or what don't we do well? Everybody seems to be happy?
I think that events like this, getting input from the community are great. I know that the other event for the visioning in a couple of years ago before the pandemic was also very well promoted. So I think those opportunities to hear those questions and input are great. Great opportunities. And I think the community, the magazine that we all get that comes out, the community events, those are all great things.
I'm going to go back to the question. I'm not sure I'm going to answer. What do you want Green Acres to be known for?
Beauty.
Beauty. Okay, beauty, that's why you're with your landscaping, you'd like to see more green.
Yeah.
Beauty, what else? Should we be touting our location, since that was an important part from everybody?
Yes.
Is that, so we should be saying, come to Green Acres, because location-wise, we're near the airport, we're near here, so we should be touting location is something we should be known for. Maria?
Yeah, I love the idea about the trees, so going green in that respect, and also green going solar. But also if we're inviting, others to come in, I had mentioned about the hotels, so maybe using any future available land for a nice hotel that can support the events not only that we have here, but other events that are in the surrounding area, like in Wilmington, the equestrian events that they're constantly having.
Yeah, there was some talk the other night about maybe we do more regional events, and if we do that, that means we'd be bringing in people who don't live here, and it would be nice to have a hotel in the jurisdiction of Green Acres so that those individuals would be able to, reside there and then partake in the community restaurants and in the shops and so forth. Yes?
I think one of the things that I would like Green Acres to know for is schools. Okay, it's very important to attract a family based on school scores and school ratings. I know my sister, for example, moved to an area because the school ratings were like #1 and really good ratings and successful, outcomes in regards to education. So just drilling down back to my bookstore and education, I would love for people to come to Green Acres for one of those reasons.
So let me ask you, obviously the elementary schools and the middle schools, those are done by Palm Beach County School District. Again, the city has limited ability to impact upon that. We work as a partner, so obviously we can communicate with them. How about from the college level? Would you like to see Palm Beach State College set up a satellite office here? Do you want trade schools to be encouraged to come here? Again, just throwing out ideas for not seeing no, I'm not seeing support of any of that. No? Okay.
Too close to the college.
Yeah, we're
Too close to the college already. Location, right? Okay, so we're good with that.
Her idea with aesthetics. I think that's really important. If you're going down the street and all the homes are well kept and nicely landscaped and painted and there's not cars all over the place, it's someplace that you go, oh God, this would be such a nice neighborhood to live in. So, and I think that's a big problem here too, is the cars.
Cars, okay.
There's cars parked everywhere.
So what's the problem with the cars? Tell us. What is
Well, some of the houses have 5 or 6 cars parked in the swell. They don't, when our kids got bigger and we got cars, we put in a bigger driveway. But there's cars everywhere. They're parked all crazy. Some people park like this, or there's a bunch like this. When I get up in the morning to walk my dogs, it looks like a mall parking lot if I look down the street. So I'm a big aesthetic person too. I take care of my lawn. I make sure that my things are kept up. And I think that's something that we should promote.
So promote as far as
mow your lawn when it gets
I see.
hot.
Maintain it.
Or, park
Maintain
your car
enough.
in your driveway. If I can see if you're having visitors, or if your kids are growing up, or you're getting other vehicles, put in a bigger driveway. So it looks nice and neat. As people are driving through. It doesn't look like a mishmash of cars everywhere.
Right. The unfortunate problem is that, these lots were built to a certain size without the expectation that the kids would be staying home and they would have cars. So it was never intended, the lots necessarily, to be able to park 5 or 6 cars, because there's other things, because if you look,
Most of the lots in the original section are big lots.
Yeah, but again, we go by zoning district, we don't go by original section versus River Bridge versus, so what applies, and then, the offset, right? If you add more pavement, you have less landscaping. So, that's, so it's just, again, there's, what is it, physics? There's always a reaction to something that you're doing.
Yeah, but even promoting, I think code enforcement does a really good job. But, just promoting it, and I know we have a big issue with litter. And the city's been really great. There are recycle bins and garbage cans everywhere. But for some reason, people still are just throwing their garbage wherever. Maybe doing something about, how about walking 5 feet and throwing your cup in the garbage can instead of just dropping it as you're walking down the street.
Goes back to courtesy.
Right. But, even doing some kind of promotion on,
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in the late 60s and early 70s, and it was always, that was the big litter thing,
Yeah.
I mean, give a hoot, don't pollute, all that kind of stuff. So, for us, for me, anytime, I have garbage, I would never think of throwing it on the garbage, because we just learned that, and I think maybe doing some kind of promotion like that
Sure.
on litter would be a good idea.
Little promotion, gotcha. Valerie, yes.
Just on that point, that's a really good idea in terms of, maybe the city's already doing this, but piggybacking on World Environment Day, World Earth Day, but also having the schools celebrated, because a lot of times that education is in the schools, and then the kids tell the parents, don't do that, that's bad for, the squirrels or whatever.
That just happened to be apropos, we have a squirrel in our seal, so that was perfect, Valerie. So we're getting towards the end of our time, and so I'm going to ask the last question. Do you have any additional comments or suggestions regarding the future of Green Acres or in regards to the comp plan process? So basically, this is the be-all, end-all. This is your opportunity for your last hurrah, since we've got about 10 more minutes before we stop. So, anybody want to partake of final comments or concerns or anything else you'd like us to note before we close out? Yes?
I just want to mention one thing. When they put new housing developments in, like I think now on Jog Road, I don't know if that's still Green Acres across from the post office up there on Jog.
Oh, the one that's going in the fountains?
Right.
That's unincorporated.
That's not. Okay, well, I was just going to say because that's going to cause such havoc on Jog Road. They only have one entrance. And they're putting in 200 some homes, I think.
Yeah, they got rid of their golf course. And they're
Yeah,
building
and
a
I
golf
thought to
course.
myself, but when you put in, I think down off Haverhill, isn't there another development going in off Haverhill?
Yes, that's the Blossom Trail or Nash.
Whatever, yeah. But I mean, when they plan to put these in, is the contractor aware that maybe you need more than one entrance on this road? Maybe it could go on another road,
Yeah.
Because it's just gonna cause, it's gonna be crazy when they get all those homes in.
Yeah, there'll be a light over there, I think.
How they gonna ever get out of there?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm thinking it's probably a consideration.
Right.
When they first negotiate, that they would make that kind of commitment.
There's an analysis when a development comes in that's required, and it's reviewed typically by, so in this case, it would be reviewed by Palm Beach County Traffic Division, who would make a determination, again, based on standards. I'm not saying the standards are right or wrong, but based on standards on what the developer needs to do. Sometimes they need to add a light, sometimes they might need to add another ingress or egress. So there's any number of things that they may require depending on where the development is and what the conditions surrounding that development are.
Are they also thinking of buying any new, annexing any other properties? Is that still in the thought?
So our most recent annexation was the shopping center that's at the southeast corner of Lake Worth Road and Jog, was in an unincorporated Palm Beach County, the one that has the bells. That was they just recently annexed into the city.
That would make a great downtown area. Because that's a big shopping center.
There you go.
That would make a great downtown.
There you go, downtown at the Lake Worth Plaza, I think is what they call it.
That would make a great downtown area. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that. That would be good.
All right, anything else? Well, again, thank you all for coming. I know that you could have been doing 10 other things on your Saturday morning. Again, appreciate all the input. As I said, we are taping it. As soon as we get a chance, we'll certainly post it on the website. Again, please be my ambassadors. Let people know that they can submit for the survey, so that way they have an input if they were unable to attend any of these meetings. And I'm here for a little bit afterwards. If anybody wants to talk any further or anything else, please feel free to stay. And again, thank you all for attending.